Walk the dogs, school drop-off, meetings from 10 to 3, take kids to soccer, then no time left for a jog.
When everyone else is relying on you, it's easy to put your needs last. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online, so you can show up for yourself the way you do for others. Visit BetterHelp.com/positive to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/positive.
Tommy Castor. This is Sports Daily on Wichita's #1 sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hour number 2 of Sports Daily underway here on KFH. Tommy Castor, Jacob Albrock, Jad Chambers producing the show. Your calls, of course, at 869-1240 on the IHOP hotline. Anytime you want to chime in on the program, just feel free to do that, 869-1240. Jad will take your calls, have you join the program here, and, of course, a lot coming up here, a lot to get to here in hour number 2 on the program. Of course, you can join us on the video stream as well. We're on the KFH YouTube page, the KFH Twitter page, the KFH and Sports Daily Facebook pages as well. You can join the video stream there, Jacob.
Yeah, it's a great way to watch us as well as listen to us. So I was putting together this one-game parlay on BetMGM. We mentioned there's, parlay insurance where if you only miss 1 out of 4, you can get your stake back up to 25. So and I'm not saying I'll have to wait and see the starting lineups before I actually do this. But so I was like, all right, I'm going to watch I love when the Rangers play out on the West Coast because they're on a little later and I can watch more of the game. I was like, I'm going to be watching that game. Let me just take 4 players to get a hit and see what it does. So like I just put in Julio Rodriguez, Jared Kalenic, Ezekiel Duran, and Marcus Semien. Plus 350. That's not bad for each of those guys just to get a hit, basically. Of any kind. Now, you can get more specific with it. I'm going to attack, and again, I'm going to wait, so that's not the bet I'll make. I'll wait to see the lineups later, but it's not a bad way. But just for the record, that's how you can do it. Congratulations to Tyler for heading to Fast X. We've had Tyler and Blake now win those tickets. We'll give away more of those throughout the week here. This week, as we make our way through, Tommy Bronny headed to USC. This has been cool. I've really enjoyed this story. Then you had LeBron James, congratulating him and mentioning it's the first person that he knows of in his family that is going to college. It's great for USC. Bronny has shot up the recruiting rankings this year. He's had a really nice year. He was, the McDonald's All-American, all that stuff. He's really shot up the board, makes USC good. But just as a dad here, I was really, of all the stuff happening, I was really hoping Bronny would end up somewhere right there, so that his family and his dad could come watch him play basketball, right? Seasons overlap, and it's going to be hard to do that for LeBron or whatever. I'm glad for just that reason. The fact that his dad's going to be able to come watch him play when his dad has to work that time of year, right? And travel and do all that stuff. That, to me, was the coolest part of this. I didn't ever really care where he ended up. I want to see him play college basketball. I'm excited we'll see him play college basketball. And USC, to me, makes a ton of sense, and I'm happy for his dad.
Yeah, I'm looking at this more from the perspective of not where he's playing his college ball, but what's going to happen. Because I know that LeBron wants to play with his son, right? That's going to be a big deal for LeBron to close out his career. He said that in interviews that he wants to at least spend one season sharing the court with his son. So, he'll play 1 year of college basketball more than likely. You would imagine he'll get drafted, but I don't know what kind of caliber of a player he is. Will he be a first-round pick? What does that look like? Will there be teams that will want to go get Bronny so they can maybe get his dad to come join and play a couple of years? And if that's the case, is a team willing to maybe reach a little bit on Bronny, maybe draft him higher than what they should,
absolutely,
just to get his dad on the roster too?
Yeah, and it would have to be, it would be a team that because whether LeBron, I have a feeling LeBron would still be good at 40, right? Which is what he would be at that point. But you still get the hype of LeBron. So let's say you're a franchise. I don't even know what a good example is. Portland, right? Like that could use a little buzz, and you get a year of LeBron just for that reason. I think would have some value because LeBron wants to play with his son. Like that, he's said that before. And who knows? Maybe he can play with two sons if he can make it. If he can give it the Tom Brady treatment and play till he's 45. Maybe he'll come back out of retirement just for fun.
How about Cleveland? Could Cleveland make a run? To have LeBron.
I don't think
back
Cleveland
to
will
close
be
out his
bad
career?
enough. Yeah, I don't think Cleveland will be bad enough. They're pretty good and on the up and up for sure. But I don't know what kind of player he's going to be. I have no idea. He's elevated his game. He had 15 and he made 5 threes in the McDonald's All-American game. So he's not like what LeBron James was. LeBron James was 6'9", right? He's 6'3". Right. He's a good shooter. He's a really good player. He was a 4-star even before now, and some have moved him up to 5 after his McDonald's All-American game performance. So he's a really good high school prospect, like elite-level high school prospect. He's not his dad. I don't think anybody is going into it. Like, I'm going to just go ahead and say you can tune out and mute anybody that tries to compare him to his dad. I don't know that maybe people don't recall, but LeBron James is one of the greatest high school players we've ever seen, with as much hype and ability as any high schooler we've ever seen, like in the history of basketball. So let's not do that, okay? Like that'd be ridiculous at any stretch. Even if one of LeBron James's kids ends up like elevate, like his younger son, I think grew 6 inches all of a sudden and is now like 6'7" and whatever. Let's not do that because that's insane to do. Like, don't forget what LeBron James was, right? Coming out. We watched all his games on ESPN. I don't think, Tommy, we had seen that level of high school hype before LeBron James, and I don't believe that we've seen it after. I could be forgetting about, maybe Zion Williamson, maybe. It just doesn't exist, and
I think
nor should
it. The hype was there to an extent with Kobe, I think, when Kobe was in high school. Kevin Garnett, I think, when he was in high school.
Yeah, with those one-and-done players, yeah, but not like LeBron. Yeah. LeBron was, he was in, like, the level of hype for him coming, and then he delivered in the NBA. That's the other thing, like, right away. It was like, holy cow, And there have been other great young players that have done better or worse in their rookie years. It's not that. It's just, like, everything building up. Let's not draw those comparisons. And I think most people won't. One, because his son's not going to look like he did at that age, right? Like LeBron James looked like an NBA player at that point. Bronny doesn't. Bronny looks like a college basketball player. And I hope that we just watch him play and see how good a player is by all accounts. And, according to his dad and everybody else, great kid, always has been. Like, I don't think we're going to have the drama and the hype of the balls with LeBron's kids. I think he's just going to come in and he's going to play. Let's enjoy it. And again, like this whole time with this story, like for me, it's been, I'm so happy for a kid in a family who's never had anybody go and complete college. And I don't think Bronny's going to complete college in the traditional sense because he's probably too good for that. Maybe he's not. Maybe he is a 4-year player. I don't know. But the fact that his dad's going to be able to watch him play, like, again, as a dad, to be able to enjoy that way is awesome to me. And I know I'm getting old and, like, I'm not this grizzled sports fan that, can take such a hard line approach. But, man, that kid's going to get to play in front of his dad. His dad's going to get to watch him play. And this, in order to do that, he kind of had to be on the West Coast. And it's really cool. I like it. I think it's awesome.
If you are an NBA general manager and Bronny plays for a season at USC, and then LeBron comes out and says, I want to share the court with my son, and LeBron's 40, and you've got I don't know, let's say a mid first round draft pick. You're an NBA, maybe, top 10 draft pick in the NBA. Are you willing to reach up high for Bronny, who I'm going to tell you right now is not going to be projected as far as his talent is concerned alone to be a top 10 draft pick in the NBA?
Not at 6'3", probably.
Are you willing to reach for Bronny to potentially get LeBron? Or would you rather go the traditional route and get somebody that could be a franchise-altering player long-term? Or are you willing to sacrifice that for a year or two of LeBron and Bronny playing next to each other?
No, inside the lottery, you can't do that. Because you're inside the lottery probably because you stink. And we see it too often in the NBA with Doncic and Jokic and Giannis and all these guys that, they're not like the clear-cut top number one pick when they come out. You've got to still take swings at those guys. I don't know. LeBron says this now. If Bronny's not ready, and he's more of a college player, more of a multi-year college player, I imagine LeBron's tune is going to change. What if Bronny just loves college, right? With the NIL opportunities he has. Doesn't he have, and his brother, one of them or probably both, have just an insane social media following? They're going to be able to make a bunch of money in college. So it's not that they need money. Their dad's LeBron James. But you always want to make your own. I get it. I think that tune will change. And if you're LeBron, like, dude, take a year off. Wait for him then, right? Like, it doesn't have to be right then. If you're already 40, just stay in good physical shape. You're LeBron James. Like, you're going to be able to play at an old age unless something catastrophic happens physically. Like, you'll be fine. So just hang tight. And then, Tommy, what if the other son, I think is it Bryce? What if the other son, who is, I believe, a sophomore, goes to USC, and now those brothers could play together at USC and you're LeBron James? What has more value? Like, go watch those guys play together on the same team in college? How awesome would that be? And then let them both come to the NBA, right? Like, so I don't know. I think it's a pipe dream. I think it's fine for him to say that now, but I don't think anybody's going to put undue pressure on Bronny to be more than he is. He's 6'3". He's a really good basketball player. He's probably going to be a great college basketball player. And guys that are 6'3" have success in the NBA all the time. Maybe he takes the next step and we're all just like, holy cow, this dude's a lottery pick. I mean, I think that's possible. That's totally possible, especially if he shoots like he does in the McDonald's All-American game. But it's a really interesting story. I think that, honestly, I don't think this thing's got overhyped or too much hype. Do you?
No, I don't think so.
No. I think
I don't have a problem
there
with
was
it.
always this fear of this season for Bronny being overhyped and overblown. And I absolutely don't think that's happened. And I think that this has been, and I don't know who deserves credit for this, honestly, but somebody does, that we didn't do this to this kid. Because I don't think it's been done at all. We've all been interested in his recruiting because he's a really high-level basketball player. He's a McDonald's All-American. We all want to know where he's going to go play. But I think it's been appropriate, the amount of attention and everything else that's gone into this. I think it's been just fine. And again, whoever deserves that credit, good for all of us for not doing that.
The other piece of this entire story that we haven't even talked about is this a game-changing signing for USC? Does this make USC
absolutely.
a better team
Yes.
in the Pac-12? Does it make them a team that you could look at and say, hey, they could be a solid tournament team? Like, does the addition of Bronny improve the outlook for the Trojans? And honestly, I think so. I don't know the answer to
Absolutely
that for sure, but I would
does.
think that, somebody that caliber can certainly come in and help right away.
Let's go to 247 and let's just look at their recruiting class here. Let me go to let's go to the Pac-12 here. So now they are the fourth best in that class. They have another 5-star. Well, apparently is the national number 1 player, Isaiah Collier. I don't know about that. And then another 4-star. So yeah, I think it does, right? I mean, it puts him up there in the Pac-12, and And I think when the Bronny thing becomes official, it'll even take it higher. But yeah, I mean, I think they've got a nice class. It definitely makes a difference. I think they could win the Pac-12. It puts them in, nationally inside the top 30 in recruiting class. And again, I think that's going to go up. But that's cool too. Like I think USC basketball is cool. They've had some cool teams over the years.
Shout out Andy Enfield. I mean, that program has been up and down over the last decade or so, and not always able to find its footing. And I think Andy Enfield has done a good job in recruiting. I think it helps, that now you've got the program, the university moving to the Big Ten soon. But yeah, I mean, it's a big get. I didn't realize they had the number one recruit in America coming and playing for them. So that's a big deal too. I don't know. I mean, of course, we know the Pac-12 historically, outside of Arizona last season, not very strong. So this could be a good year for them for sure when you've got Bronny and some other guys coming in.
Yeah, and I'm a little confused now because 24/7 has, then you go to their player rankings and one other player ranked higher. But either way, he's number 2 if he's not number 1. So we'll see. It'll be a very interesting year in college basketball. Bronny will make it more interesting. He'll give us more reasons to watch late games, right? Like that'll be the advantage too for USC and the networks, is that he went West Coast. Like if you're a network that gets West Coast Pac-12 late night games, you're gonna put Bronny on as often as you can, and that's I like that. I think that's great. I think that's awesome, and gives us a reason to do that. But 869-1240, the IHOP hotline. Bronny goes to USC. I've been pleased with the way this story's been handled, and I think it's a pretty cool moment. So that's out there. If you want to talk about that, we got into the Chris Kleiman contract just a little bit before we get into hour number 2. We can go back to that. Still waiting. No news on Nikola Jokic after the shove, whatever you want to call it, last night. Plenty more to come here on Sports Daily. The flop, yeah, it was definitely a flop. It was totally a flop. There's no question about it. The Royals also out there on the table. Wichita State baseball to talk about. Get you ready for Wichita State softball. The Royals dropped 2 or 3 to Oakland. Not a good start to this critical stretch that we had pointed out for them. Lots on the table there for you. For Sports Daily, we'll come back, have more right after this.
Ball right there after the ball was kind of fumbled into the air, and a little bit of maybe a flop from Ishbia there. Wow.
Woo. I'm just seeing Mike Malone's comments after. He said when he was asked about it, I think it's crazy that Nikola got a technical foul. He's going to get the ball and some fans holding it like he wants to be a part of the game. Reporter says that fan was the owner of the Suns, and Malone's response is, I don't give a blank, which is, to me, accurate. I love it. Man, they better not pop Jokic. We're still waiting on that.
There's no chance they'll suspend him for this.
Yeah. I mean, it took Draymond kicking a dude in the jewels to get a 1 game, which is far worse than this. So hopefully cooler heads prevail. Again, I'm on the fence on whether the Suns, owner should show up in a sling to the next game or to work today, or if he should be like, don't suspend him for that. It was partly my fault too. I don't know. I don't know what the better, like from an outsider's perspective, it's like do the right thing and tell him not to suspend him. But if I'm a Suns fan, I'm like, yeah, come in a leg cast. Like, let's go. Let's do the right thing here. Let's get through this series. I don't know. We'll watch for that news. Wichita State baseball, disappointing weekend. 2 close ones to Houston. Down in Houston, they fall, and then the 3rd game is canceled. So now they sit in the standings from 1st to 3rd. We wondered what it would take for East Carolina, who's probably going to go on a tear here. But now they're 2 games back of Houston and a game and a half back, I believe it is, of East Carolina in the AAC standings. And left on the schedule still those 6 conference games. So there's time for movement here. And then they get their final midweek game against Oral Roberts, which is actually their best RPI game remaining. That one's tomorrow night. But a disappointing weekend for the Shocker baseball team, who had, found ways to win so many close ones lately. They couldn't get 2 close ones against Houston, and they don't get the chance at the third.
Yeah, that's rough. Not the way that you wanted that weekend series to go for Shocker baseball. They had a ton of momentum going into this weekend series, and playing a team like Houston that you got to get the wins against if you want to try to win a league title. Not the way that you wanted it to go, and then of course kind of adding insult to injury, not being able to play the final game in that series on Sunday. So disappointing. They've got to bounce back from this. They now find themselves kind of on the outside looking in as far as winning a league championship. They can still obviously do it, but they're gonna have to win at a pretty large clip here moving forward.
Yeah, and look, like I think the one thing the baseball team has shown us is when they get into the tournament, they're going to have a puncher's chance. They've got good enough pitching to do that, and that may end up being what we get to, and that's okay too. That gives us excitement. Conference tournament for Wichita State softball begins this week. They'll play the winner of Tulsa-Houston on Friday. Wichita State softball absolutely needs to win this conference tournament. They may not anymore have that loss to Kansas is going to hurt. How badly, we don't know. They're going to be a postseason team one way or the other. I don't know how likely hosting a regional still is. I'm not sure. I think we have Saul this week. Did we have Saul last week or do we have him this week? We can ask him.
I think we have him this week, yeah.
Yeah, we'll ask him the latest on that and what he thinks about that. That'll be good timing because it'll go right into the conference tournament. And so we'll get the latest on that, but certainly it's one that they want to win for a billion reasons. And then the NCAA regionals, wherever they're played, begin next weekend on the 19th. So we'll see on that. But, it's interesting. They've got time to prepare. I think they're going to have a nice tournament here. I think they'll have plenty of motivation. They'll be mad about the Kansas game, and Shocker softball will just finish things up here before we get them ready for the postseason.
Yeah, they've got, quite a bit of opportunity in front of them, right? I mean, kind of right on that bubble to be able to host a regional. That's the way that it's been for the last several weeks, right? And so really they hold the power in their hands. If they continue to win at the clip that we've seen them do that, I don't know. Again, I think that you've looked at it more recently than I have as far as their prospects of hosting a regional or not. So I don't know if that is still a likely chance or not. But regardless of that, I know that getting into postseason play for the softball squad, they've shown this season they can beat the top opponents in the country. They did that with Oklahoma State twice, both at home and on the road. So they've got that opportunity to do that in the postseason, and I think that you feel more confident about the likelihood of them doing that than you have had in seasons past. So, of course, postseason knocking on the doorstep right now. We'll see how it goes.
Good luck to both. I'm excited about this softball tournament. I'm really excited. I mean, this is maybe new. I'm more excited to get through the conference tournament's like, all right, it's there, but it's almost like it's in the way, right? Like it's just kind of in the way right now. Let's get to the
I mean, what do you think it takes, for the conference tournament? Like, what do you think the Shockers have to do? Do they have to win the American tournament to host a regional? For the chance to
host a regional? Yeah, I think so. But I don't know, and I still don't know if that's enough now. We'll see. We'll talk to Kevin Saul about it. I'm not sure, and maybe some other things need to happen with some of the other teams, most notably Oklahoma State, Arkansas. I mean, Oklahoma's in no danger, but they have wins, 2 over Oklahoma State, 1 over Arkansas. So you never know. We'll see. I'm not sure, and it would be really cool for the fans. But the other thing is for the fans, if they end up in Stillwater, Shocker fans are going to be able to go to that. And hopefully there are tickets available for them to do that. All right, you sent me this, Tommy, as we were talking about it. I guess Ishbia has made his decision on whether he, really goes all in on the flop and, tries to get Jokic, suspended. We're joking about this. I don't know if this was never an option, just, whatever. But it sounds like he's going to do what's the right thing and say, don't suspend this guy.
Yeah, Ishbia got on Twitter and said, great win for the Suns last night and an amazing series so far. That should be and is the only story. Suspending or fining anyone over last night's incident would not be right. I have a lot of respect for Jokic and don't want to see anything like that. Excited for Game 5. Go Suns. I would imagine that puts it to bed right there. I don't think Adam Silver is going to do anything with this. He shouldn't. I don't think there should be any kind of punishment for Jokic. I'm glad to see Ishbia responding in that way.
Yeah, me too. It is the right thing. The other would have been really, really funny, though. And maybe he could still pull that off. Like, after, you could probably appease your like, after Jokic, maybe the decision's made, maybe just for fun, show up in a cast anyway. Just to
wear
rib
a neck
him
brace
a little bit.
Yeah,
neck brace. That'd be good. Just to mess with him. Because then you're still messing with him, right? You're getting in the psychology of it. It is. Did you see this story, Tommy? I don't think it's that big a deal, but it's interesting. It has to do with Andrew Luck. So Colts owner Jim Irsay came out and, basically said Luck's off limits. The Colts own his rights if he ever decides to come back into the league. And Irsay's basically saying that's tampering. You don't get to communicate with Andrew Luck. This is interesting. The Colts just made their decision to go with Anthony Richardson. I don't think Andrew Luck's coming back to play football based on everything that he said and we've read and everything else. But why do you think it's necessary for Irsay to come out and do this? Do you think there's any chance? I mean, the only thing that would make me is like, he's only coming out to say this because he feels like there's a chance, but I've never felt like there was a chance Luck was going to come back.
No. Why is this even a story? I mean, Andrew Luck retired 4 years ago.
Well, because Washington reportedly inquired about him last year.
Okay, great. He didn't play for him. Andrew Luck, I don't think, has any desire to play in the NFL ever again. I really don't. I mean, he retired early. Caught everybody off guard when he did, and then the likelihood of him coming back has diminished year after year after year that he's been gone. That's great. I don't have a problem, honestly, with Washington asking the question, and then I don't have a problem with the Colts saying, no, I mean, technically he's our property. And then I don't have a problem with Andrew Luck being like, no, I'm not going to play. I mean, I feel like this is a big nothing.
Well, it's not a problem. It's just the only thing that's interesting, and Irsay's a wild card anyway. But like the only why else would he feel the need to go out there unless something happened where he thought this might be a possibility?
Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Andrew Luck's not coming back. I mean, he's done. He's done. And so I don't have a problem with, Jim Irsay is a businessman, right? I mean, he paid a contract to Andrew Luck. And
I don't have a problem with Irsay saying it either. I'm not saying I have a problem with Irsay by any means.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's curious that this needed to happen in the first place because I never really paid too much attention. I just never paid too much attention to the fact that Luck might come back. And if he did... I don't think so either. I don't think so either. It's a very, very strange little headline to see this morning as I'm, just sort of going through things. I'm like, wait, what? Andrew Luck? Why is this in the news? Tommy, you sent me this story too. I'm going to fully admit I don't really understand it, but I guess there's some confusion and pushback from the Chiefs playing in Germany and who they play, and I don't know. I think you got to be a diehard to be into this story. I don't fully understand how this works, but I guess like who they play is in question to some degree.
Yeah. So of course it's been long discussed and long talked about that the Chiefs will be playing in Germany, right? Of course, now we're at the point of the season or the off season where the league is planning out the schedule and, putting different teams in different places. There's been a lot of speculation on who the Chiefs might play in Germany. We know that, they are going to be giving up a home game to be able to play in Germany this season. And there are a list of potential opponents that the Chiefs could be facing off in that game in Germany. Apparently, Kansas City, this is according to Peter King, by the way. He was writing in the Football Morning in America column for NBC. He is saying that he's being told that Kansas City does not want to play Chicago overseas. They've got the Bears on the schedule for next season. According to Peter King, the Chiefs do not want to play the Bears in Germany. I'm not sure why. I don't really know what the reasoning behind that is. And then there was also speculation that Carolina could be an opponent, not for this coming season, but for the next season. And there's some pushback on that too, because apparently Carolina thinks that maybe they don't want to have Patrick Mahomes not go to Carolina and play because of the ticket sales there. They would rather keep Patrick Mahomes and have them play in Carolina as opposed to playing in Germany. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. But as it stands right now, according to Peter King, there might be some pushback on who the Chiefs play in Germany.
Number one, if you're a Chiefs fan, who cares who you play? You'll play anybody over there. I suppose that there is some value for the Chiefs in trying to get that game, if you're going to have to give up the home game, to be like a really high-quality opponent, right? Like, let's play Buffalo. If we can't play them at Arrowhead, let's play them in Germany, right?
Well, but that's the other thing, too. That's the other part of the reporting from Peter King.
But you're giving up that home game.
Well, not only that, but you're putting them in an early window. Keep in mind, you play in Germany, that game's going to start at 9 o'clock in the morning. So why would the league want the Chiefs to play the Bills or the Bengals or the Eagles? All three of those teams are on their schedule at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning when the ratings are not going to be very high for that time slot. Why wouldn't you want to put them in prime time?
Oh, I know the league would rather see the Chiefs play a not good team over there. Like, I get that part of it. I just can't understand why the Chiefs don't want to play the Bears over there. Because to me, if you've got to give up a home game and you have your pick, you want it to be the home game against what you perceive as the worst team you'll play. That's what doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, if they're like next level strategizing that on short rest and a long trip, maybe the hardest thing to defend would be Justin Fields running all over the place. I mean, that to me is maybe. Like, no, there's no way. Like, maybe. What are we doing here? I just don't understand this story. And I don't really care. I think sometimes, like, I'm more of a, you just play your schedule, right? Like, if you're the Chiefs, the schedule is not going to be the reason you do or don't win a Super Bowl. Just play your schedule. Who cares, right? You're the best team. You're the best team. Go play the schedule. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters. It matters whether you have home field advantage and all those things. But if you're the Chiefs, you think you're the best team anyway. You'll go play in a parking lot. Like, you just go play. Like, I don't. Yeah. I guess also, the hardest thing for this story for me is I just don't understand this. I don't understand what's at stake here.
And I don't know the reasoning as to why allegedly the Chiefs have requested to not play the Bears overseas. I don't know. I do understand Carolina's perspective, though, in 2024, because I think this is like the only time in almost a decade that Patrick Mahomes will actually travel to play the Panthers. So why would you want to play that, give up that home game, move it overseas? Because you know people are going to show up in Carolina to watch Patrick Mahomes play.
Totally agree. And if you're the NFL, you want a nice spotlight over there in Germany, and just because you're trying to grow the game there. So from the NFL's perspective, I get it. I just don't understand all the ins and outs and strategies of why it matters, and then why you wouldn't want to play potentially the worst game on your schedule over there would be my thing. And, you know, the Bears aren't going to be good yet. Not good enough yet to compete with the Chiefs. So go play them over there if you're going to have to give up a home game. But I don't know. When schedules come out soon, right? Like, is that this week?
Yeah, and that was the other point of the reporting, was that Peter King is reporting that while the NFL plans to release the schedule on Thursday, there might be a delay. So we might not see it this week. It might be more like next week.
It's crazy when your NFL team's good that, like, this is going to get run. Like, this story's going to get a lot of run, and it's like, what are we doing here? Like, are we that obsessed? We might need to take a look at our lives if, like, this is what we're losing sleep about this week. But I'm right there with you. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm the same way. The NFL, the ways it finds to dominate the headlines is something else. It's a unique skill that is the reason they're the top team. All right, let's give some tickets away here before we take a break. We'll come back. I want to spend a little more time with the Chris Kleiman news if you're just joining us on the show. By the way, thanks for joining us on the video stream, Facebook, YouTube, on the KFH pages. You can find us on the Sports Daily Twitter page also, and, of course, to everybody listening. Let's go to the IHOP hotline right now. Fast X tickets, sneak preview at Boulevard Town West Theaters next Thursday. We'll give away another pair. 869-1240. Jad will get us a winner. We'll come back. Kleiman. Big contract, K-State football, big spotlight. We'll talk about it next on Sports Daily. All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily on KFH. Glad to be with you. Happy to be here. Michael wins the latest round of tickets to Fast X. We've had Blake, Tyler, Michael, all going on Sports Daily next Thursday. Congratulations to all of you guys for winning that giveaway. Call into the IHOP hotline, 869-1240, to get your chance to do that. All right, let's talk more about Chris Kleiman's deal here for just a few minutes. If you missed it in the first hour, if you missed the news sort of late yesterday, K-State getting ready to sign and finalizing a deal, according to Pete Thamel last night, $44 million through 2030, 5.5 a year. Of the public schools, puts him third in the Big 12 behind Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, but ahead of Texas. Solidifies Chris Kleiman's status, I think, in Manhattan for the long term through 2030. I mean, if Kleiman's in Manhattan through 2030, that you're looking at, fantastic news for K-State. I don't know, though, Tommy, and this is what we didn't. So that would be, he's 55 now. That'd have him till 62. I don't know what the long-term prospects with Colin Klein are. And this is going to get really interesting. Because Colin Klein, remember, turned down some big-time offers from some big-time programs to stay in Manhattan. I don't know that he's going to do that forever. Now, Venables did it for a long time, so maybe money talks and happiness matters, and you can somehow come up with like a coach in waiting, but how long are you going to wait, especially for Klein? Because if K-State keeps developing these quarterbacks and recruiting them the way that they have been, I mean, he's going to his offers will elevate, I would think, at that point to the NFL level, and I just don't know how much longer you're going to be able to do that. That's the part of this that is interesting to me. Great news that Kleiman's extended, like awesome, status securing kind of news for Kansas State's football program. But it does make me wonder a little bit about Colin Klein.
I think there are two guys that will help determine what ends up happening with Colin Klein long term, and that's Will Howard this season and Avery Johnson after this season. Depending on the way that those two guys develop and knowing how big of a role Colin Klein plays in the development of quarterbacks on that roster, if Will Howard is an NFL quarterback after this season, and then if Avery Johnson comes in and lights the world on fire, and you can point to Colin Klein as one of the major reasons as to why, then I think that's going to help play a part in other programs, either at the collegiate level or even NFL teams, throwing bags of money at Colin Klein to come in and help them develop their quarterbacks. So I think that that's going to play a large role in it.
I do too. I mean, and it's rightfully so, right? And if you're Klein, I think in the short term, the Klein's reason to stay in K-State was about 12-fold, right? One, you're there, it, the history, all that stuff. You're allying yourself with a head coach that knows how to do this too and has done it for a long time in Chris Kleiman. And for what you just talked about, if you're betting on yourself and you're Colin Klein and you're doing this, yeah, you've got the chance now to send two more guys. Like, let's say in a best case scenario that Will Howard develops into one of the top, 5 quarterbacks taken next year. I, by the way, absolutely think that's a possibility. And then after that, all bets are off with Avery Johnson in the way that quarterback's being played at the NFL level. And a lot of things, I'm not trying to put that kind of pressure on Avery Johnson. I'm just saying, the resume coming into college is as high as anybody at K-State's ever had. So if those two worked out and you get them both into, the top 5 quarterbacks taken in the league, it could be better, it could be worse. Then, yeah, I think if you're Colin Klein, literally everybody's going to want a piece.
Yeah.
And
the other
so,
thing to keep in mind,
quantify that.
The other thing to keep in mind with Klein, I mean, the guy is younger than both of us. He's like, 34, 33, 34? If he wants to be a head coach at the collegiate level, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we've ever talked about Colin Klein as an NFL head coach. But if he wants to be a head coach at any level, he's young. He's got plenty of time.
Riley.
I know, but he's got plenty of time, to make that happen.
No, I just mean, look at Lincoln Riley, where teams will absolutely take that sort of risk after now, Lincoln Riley got his, Bob Stoops took care of Lincoln Riley. right? Like, and it seems like anyway on the surface. Chris Kleiman is not where Bob Stoops was at that moment. I don't think Chris Kleiman's going to be done before before 2030. I just don't know what that dynamic is, and I don't know how. Like, if I'm K-State, if I'm Gene Taylor, who again they ought to be considering like banners for this guy at this point. But if I'm Gene Taylor, I'm like, all right, what are my priorities? Priority 1 was just completed according to this report, and that's get Chris Kleiman extended, and put him in the place where you don't have to worry about it, and you don't. He's now one of the top 25 paid coaches in the country. You've got him in good placement in your league, and when Oklahoma leaves, then he's going to be right at the top. So all that's accomplished and good. Next priority, let's get Jerome Tang taken care of. And that urgency is not for me any faster than like end of next season, probably. Because I do kind of in the back of my head kind of want to see what happens in year 2. And then the third priority would be like, what on earth could we do to keep Klein around? Now they just did it, but I don't know what it took to keep Klein this last time. But can you do it again? Because to me, that's like the priority and power ranking of importance of coaching extensions. Kleiman, Tang, Klein. And I don't know. And at some point, even for like if you're the biggest K-State fan in the world, and the opportunity, like it existed for Lincoln Riley at the time or Cliff Kingsbury at the time, right, is another good comparison to go back and be the head coach. Like, if that presents itself somewhere, like, you're going to have to wish him well and root for his success, because you can't keep – like, if a big-time program comes and wants you to be their head coach and that's what you ultimately want to do, you got to take that shot at that point. K-State will always be there for him. And the reason I bring all this up that's just interesting to me, and I'm not like – there's no – like, I'm not trying to stir controversy or anything – but it is sort of like you got to take your pick, right? Is it Kleiman or Klein? And I've worried about this for a long time, because you can see Klein's impact on recruiting and everything, and he's the next guy. But at the same time, you're achieving this great success right now with Kleiman. So are you, keep this train rolling and roll with, and we'll ask Fitz this because I think it's fascinating, or are you, oh no, but it's going to cost us Colin Klein? I don't know. I don't know if anybody's that worried about that, but I certainly have thought about it.
Well, I think the fact that, he turned down Notre Dame, he kind of brushed away overtures from Alabama, it sounds like, according to reports. He's committed for now to Kansas State. But that Colin Klein, at least you would think, has ideas and visions of the next step, right? And I don't blame him.
I don't know that part, but what I do know is other schools are going to have the interest. Whether he does or not, I don't know. Like, I have no idea. You never know what somebody's ultimate motivations are. Luke Barnwell at Sunrise Christian has had big time offers. He didn't want to take them. So you never know what somebody's motivation is, but like, I don't know. What I do know is other teams are going to come calling. And then it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do? Because they've already come calling. And I think they're about to send another quarterback to the league in Will Howard. And then Avery Johnson, all bets are off. Good for K-State fans, though, on the Chris Kleiman news. That's awesome that this last sequence of the last 12 months for a fan base that absolutely deserves it. Let's hope Kansas can follow suit with Lance Leipold, and they continue to build some of that momentum too. And now the falls become like the winters here in the state of Kansas in totality. 869-1240, we'll come back. We'll wrap it up, tell you what's on tap the rest of the day on the network on Sports Daily.
When you save on auto insurance for driving safe with USAA Safe Pilot, you'll feel like a big deal, even in a traffic jam. Save up to 30% with USAA Safe Pilot. Restrictions apply.